At my graduation party, my parents announced that my college fund was given to my brother, instead saying, "He's the yon who will make us proud." When I refused to accept their decision, they laughed. But when the university's financial office called, their smiles faded instantly. I'm a 17-year-old high school senior from a small town in Pennsylvania. I've always been the quiet, studious type. More comfortable with books than with parties. My younger brother Ethan is the opposite, athletic, outgoing, and the apple of our parents' eyes. Throughout high school, I worked hard to maintain a 4.00 GPA. I participated in science fairs, volunteered at the local library, and even started a tutoring program for underclassmen. My dream was to attend the University of Pennsylvania and major in biomedical engineering. My parents had always promised that they were saving for my college education. The day of my high school graduation was supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life. We had a small party at our house with close family and friends after dinner. My parents gathered everyone in the living room. For a toast, "We're so proud of both our children," my dad began. "Ethan has decided to pursue a career in sports management, and we've decided to support his dreams by allocating the college fund to him." I was stunned. I looked at my mom, hoping she'd say it was a joke, but she just smiled and nodded. "We believe Ethan has the potential to make us truly proud," she added. I felt a lump in my throat. "What about me?" I asked. "You're smart," my dad said dismissively. "You'll figure it out." Everyone laughed, thinking it was lighthearted banter, but I knew they were serious that night. I couldn't sleep. I felt betrayed. The next morning, I confronted my parents. "How could you do this to me?" I demanded. "We've made our decision," my mom said coldly. "Ethan needs this more than you." But I got into Penn. I protested, then take out loans. My dad snapped, "Life isn't fair." I realized then that I couldn't rely on them. I decided to take matters into my own hands. I contacted the university's financial aid office and explained my situation. They were sympathetic and offered me a combination of scholarships, grants, and work-study programs. It wasn't enough to cover everything, but it was a start. I also reached out to my guidance counselor, Mrs. Carter, who helped me apply for external scholarships. I wrote essays, gathered recommendation letters, and poured my heart into every application. Meanwhile, I took up a part-time job at a local bookstore to save money for college expenses. I was determined to make it on my own. A few weeks later, I received a call from the university's financial office. "We need to verify some information regarding your FAFSA." The officer said, "Sure, what do you need?" I asked. "Your parents reported a significant amount in your college fund, but you mentioned that the funds were no longer available to you." "That's correct." I confirmed. "They decided to give it to my brother instead. We'll need to speak with them directly to clarify this discrepancy." I provided their contact information and waited. Later that day, my parents called me furious. "How dare you involve the university in our personal matters?" my dad shouted. "They contacted me." I replied calmly, "I just told them the truth now. They're questioning our financial integrity." My mom cried, "Maybe you should have thought about that before taking away my college fund." They hung up on me. The university launched an investigation into the matter. It turned out that my parents had misrepresented their financial situation on the FAFSA, which is considered fraud. They were required to pay a fine and were disqualified from any future federal financial aid programs. Ethan's college plans were also affected. Without the college fund, he couldn't afford the tuition for the sports management program he wanted. He ended up attending a local community college instead as for me. I continued to work hard. I graduated from UPenn with honors and secured a job at a prestigious biomed firm in Boston. I was finally living my dream. 5 years later, I received an invitation to my parents' 30th wedding anniversary party. I hadn't spoken to them much since the incident, but I decided to attend at the party. My parents introduced me to their friends as their successful daughter who graduated from UPenn and works in Boston. They conveniently left out the part where they tried to sabotage my future. When one of their friends asked about Ethan, my mom hesitated. "He's still figuring things out," she said. I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. I had proven them wrong. After the party, I thought maybe things had finally settled. I had a job I loved, my own apartment in Boston, and peace. But I was wrong. A month after the anniversary party, I got a call from Ethan that was rare. "Hey," he said, voice low. "You got a minute?" It wasn't his usual cocky tone that caught my attention fast. "Sure, what's up? I need to talk to you about Mom and Dad." Sat up. "Okay, go on." "I found something," he said, and it's bad about the college fund that made my stomach turn. It thought the chapter was done. Apparently. Not Ethan explained he had been helping Mom clean out the garage in a box labeled taxes. He found a folder. Bank documents, FAFSA printouts, and notes scribbled in my dad's handwriting. He sent pictures there. It was my name on multiple scholarship checks cashed. They were in my name, but I never saw them. They never went through my bank account. They took them. Ethan said they forged your signature. They cashed your scholarship checks. I stared at the pictures on my phone. I felt my heart pounding in my chest. What the hell, Ethan, are you serious? I didn't know, he said. Quietly, I swear I didn't. They told me everything. Went into one fund. I thought you just didn't get enough help from school. He sounded shaken, and for once I believed him that night. I didn't sleep. Printed every document Ethan sent me. He called the university the next morning, Miss Carter, the financial officer said, yes, real name. We'll open a formal case. This is very serious. It was fraud, identity, theft of federal and private scholarship funds. 3 weeks. Later, 2 things happened. First, I got a call from the police. Second, my dad showed up at my apartment, uninvited, looked older hair. More gray face, tight with anger. I don't know what the hell you're trying to pull, he hissed, stepping inside before I could stop him. You think turning us in is going to make you the victim? I didn't say anything. I walked over to the table, picked up the stack of scholarship forms with his handwriting, and placed them between us. These were mine, I said, voice steady. You stole them, that's a crime, you ungrateful brat, he growled. We did everything for you, you did everything for Ethan. I shot back, you buried me, and now you're mad. I dug myself out. He didn't respond, just stared at me, eyes full of something I couldn't even name. Then he left. A few days later, the news broke in our town, local couple under investigation for education fraud. Made the headlines. I didn't ask how it leaked. Maybe Ethan, maybe the school, maybe someone at the courthouse. Either way, it spread. People who once praised my parents now avoided them. Their church asked them to step back from leadership roles. Dad lost a few of his side clients. Mom stopped going to the day-to-day. Altogether, Ethan moved in with a friend across town, said he couldn't take the shouting anymore. Then my aunt called me. You know, your mother hasn't stopped crying for days, she said, trying to guilt me. She should have thought about that before forging her daughter's signature. I replied, she made a mistake. She made several mistakes. Over years, that's not a mistake. That's a choice. She hung up about 2 months into the investigation. I received a letter. In the mail, no return address, just my name. In careful cursive inside was a letter from my grandmother. She had passed away. Years earlier, I asked your parents to give this to you when you graduated. It said, it went on about how proud she was of me. How she'd always known I would do something great. And at the end, enclosed, is a check I left for you in a trust one set up while you were a child. Use it for something you love, except there was no check. I checked the trust with the bank. The account had been emptied 10 years ago by my parents. They stole my grandmother's money too. That was the moment something broke inside me. This wasn't just about scholarships or favoritism. This was bigger. They built their lives on lying to me, and now they were watching it all crumble, and I wasn't finished yet. After I found out about the trust fund my grandmother left me, I contacted her old lawyer in Harrisburg. I didn't expect much. I just wanted confirmation of what happened. Instead, I got something I never saw coming. Her lawyer, Mr. Bennett, told me my grandmother had updated her will the year before she passed. And in that update, she left a small property. She owned a cabin in the Poconos to me. Odd thing is, he said, flipping through digital scans during our call records show, it was sold 5 years ago. You'd have had to sign off on it as the beneficiary. I never signed anything. Then someone forged your name again. That was it. It was deeper than a stolen college fund. My own family had stolen real estate. From real tangible property that belonged to me, they sold it, forged my signature, and pocketed the money again. Do you have copies of the signed documents? I asked. He did. And he sent them. I opened the PDFs and stared at the signature, mine, but not mine. Slightly off, like someone practiced it, but never got it quite right. I sent them straight to the investigators handling the education fraud case. Within a week, the case expanded. It was no longer just education fraud. It became a federal identity theft case. Wire fraud, forgery. Real estate fraud. My parents had crossed state lines with forged documents using stolen identity and funds meant for me that. Week J called me again this time. His voice was shaky, not guilt. Fear they're blaming me now, he whispered. They said if I don't take the fall, they'll lose everything. What are they saying you did? That I forged the trust signature that had pressured them to give me your scholarship money that I planned. The whole thing, did you? No. He paused, I knew. They were giving me more than they gave you. But I didn't know. They were lying to the government or cashing stuff under your name. I believed him. Again, not because I wanted to, but because he sounded like a kid who finally realized his golden status had limits. What are you going to do? I asked. I want to help you. He said, I'll give a statement. I'll tell the investigators. What I know, are you sure? I think it's time people knew the truth. Ethan's statement changed everything. Investigators found bank transfers from my parents' joint account into accounts, under false business names. My name was used again over a dozen times. The university confirmed my parents, submitted forged tax documents, forged my signature, and intercepted multiple checks. Even worse, one of the businesses used to launder the money was registered under my social security number. I could have been the one charged if this hadn't come out. Now I had to freeze my credit lock, my social file identity theft claims. It was exhausting. And then I got the worst call yet. Miss Carter said, Agent Collins from the Federal Fraud Unit, we have reason to believe your parents also took out a loan under your name from a private lender. Mobs. What kind of loan? 14,700 applied for 6 years ago. Funds were deposited into a joint account between David and Linda Morgan and someone named Jacob Carter. Ethan gasped when I told him that's why they were always so nervous when the mail came. The worst part, if I hadn't caught this, I would have been liable for that debt. It was in my name. My credit score was already tanked because of all this. Right when I thought I couldn't get messier, I got a message on Facebook from someone. I didn't know. Sophie Reed. Hi, I know. This is weird, but I think your parents did something similar to my sister Con. We talk. Turns out Claw's younger sister, who had gone to high school with Ethan, had a trust from their late father. It mysteriously disappeared a few years back. Guess who her parents were talking to? Around that time, mine, Clay's family, never pressed charges because they didn't have enough proof. But now that my case was public, she was willing to speak up. So were two others' families in our hometown who were helped by my parents with financial aid, only to later find weird gaps and missing funds. I started a file pattern of behavior, a trail of manipulation. My parents had done this before. I just didn't see it. Ethan and I had barely spoken growing up, but now we were on the phone nearly every day, both trying to untangle the same web. Then he dropped the last twist. I never saw coming. I found something in Mom's safe. He said it's a birth certificate. Okay, it's not mine. It's another sibling. My head spun. She had another kid, I asked. Has sent me a photo, a certificate with the name Isabel Carter, born 6 years before, me stillborn, except the death certificate was missing. You think she's alive? I whispered. I don't know, but everything I thought I knew about them is falling apart after Ethan showed me the birth certificate. Everything inside me twisted. Another sibling, a sister. I never knew my parents had lied so much already that anything felt possible. Now, Ethan confronted them. Mom broke down. First, she confessed that Isabel wasn't stillborn. Isabel had been taken from her after birth. She said she and Dad weren't ready at the time, so she signed over custody, but she never told anyone the father on the birth certificate was the same as mine, same parents, but no one in our family ever talked about Isabel. Ethan dug deeper through some contacts. We found her living in Colorado. Her name now was Isabel. She was 28, a social worker, kind, quiet. She looked like me when I called her. I expected anger or confusion. She was calm. I always knew something was missing. She said thank you for finding me. Isabel had been adopted at birth. She told us she'd reached out to our mom years ago, but our mom ignored her. I wanted to know where I came from, she said, but she shut the door. I knew then my parents weren't just liars. They were cowards. They threw away every child. They didn't see value in first Isabel than me. Ethan only mattered because he could win them trophies, and now all of it was public. The court hearings were brutal. I testified first, told everything about the scholarships, the forged checks, the trust, the property, the stolen identity, the loan I brought, receipts, signed documents, email statements. Ethan testified too. He admitted he ignored the signs. He told the court he was used like a shield, someone our parents hid behind while they stole from me. Isabel submitted a letter. She didn't show up in person, but her words were powerful. She told the court about the pain of being unwanted, about her attempts to reconnect, and how her parents ignored her like she never existed. The prosecution pushed for felony charges: fraud, identity, theft, forgery, and conspiracy. The court agreed. My father was sentenced to 9 years in federal prison. Mom got 5 years. Ethan was granted immunity for testifying and helping uncover evidence they cried in court. But I felt nothing. They had every chance to do right, and they made choices over and over. Ethan and I aren't close, not exactly. But we talk now like real siblings. He's going back to school, starting over. He still feels guilty. I told him guilt is heavy, it'll pass. But only if he keeps moving. Isabel flew out last fall. We spent a weekend together. It was weird at first, but also easy, like finding someone you were always supposed to know. My credit is still recovering, so is my peace. But I finally bought a small place of my own with money that was rightfully mine from the trust and damages awarded in court. My parents, they're inmates. Now, the last I heard, my dad tried to start a Bible study in prison. My mom stopped writing me after I returned her letter unopened. I wrote a full account of everything. Names, dates, receipts. I sent it to the local newspaper. They ran a full feature front page. Then I sent the article to every alumni newsletter my parents ever appeared. In every parent group they used to lead, every organization they used to brag to about their perfect family. I wanted people to know. I wanted them to see what I survived. That was my revenge. Not screaming, not fighting, not even court. The truth. The truth was the weapon they never saw. Weapon they never